Money word problems. Our first question here says, Annie has 8 $10 bills and 5 $20 bills. How much money does she have in total? So this actually isn't a word problem. This is just us trying to figure out how you work with money. So it says Annie has 8 $10 bills. So if I want to know how much money 8 $10 bills is, I would take $10 and times it by 8 because I have 8 of them. And then if I wanted to find how much money 5 $20 bills is, I would take $20 and multiply it by 5. And then if I want to know how much it is in total, I would just add those two things together, right? So if I have 8 $10 bills, I do 8 times 10. If I have 5 $20 bills, I do 5 times 20, and then I add the two together to get my grand total. So order of operations says you always need to multiply first. 8 times 10 is 80, and 5 times 20 is 100. 80 plus 100 is 180. So she has $180. So we did this just to kind of get ourselves started for money word problems. So in this question here, it says a fair charges $25 for adults and $8 for children. The number of children was 9 more than double the number of adults. The fair made $687 in total. How many children were there? So there's a lot going on in that problem. When I read through the question, I first kind of like to look to see, is there a total that I'm going to build my equation out of? And the answer is yes. They told us that they made $687 in total. So I can probably build my equation out of that. There should maybe also be a comparison sentence comparing my unknowns. If I read the first part, it says a fair charges $25 for adults and $8 for children. Is that a comparison? Not really. So a comparison would be it charges $5 more for adults than children, or some type of comparison between the two. This is actually just information. It's $25 for adults. It is $8 for children. That is not a comparison. But the next sentence is, it says the number of children was 9 more than double the number of adults. That is comparing children and adults. And that's my comparison sentence. That's where we're going to get our let statements from. So when I want to tackle a problem, any word problem, you always want to start by finding your unknowns. So when I take a look at what's missing in this question, we kind of want to know how many children there were. But I can't just do children by themselves. I also need to think about how many adults there were. So when we're doing a word problem, we always want to start with let statements. Then we want to make an equation. We're going to solve that equation. We're going to go back and try to find the answers to the problem and then write a concluding sentence. So I am going to start with let statements. I'm going to let something be the number of children. That's what I'd like to know in the question. I didn't just write, let something be the children. I actually specifically want to know the number of children. So I'm going to let something be the number of children, and I can't do children by themselves. I also need to include the adults because that's part of the comparison. So I'm going to let something be the number of adults. Okay, so to do my let statement, I'm going to use that line I highlighted in yellow. It says the number of children was 9 more than double the number of adults. Last thing mentioned was adults. I'm going to let that be X. The number of children is 9 more means plus, than double means times 2, the number of adults. So 9 more than, that word than means we're going to be adding 9 at the end. And then double the number of adults. We used X for the number of adults, so 2 times the number of adults, or 2 times X. So it should be 2X plus 9. You could also do 9 plus 2x if you wanted to, right? So that it is 9 more than double the number of adults. Okay, so once I have this figured out, my total tells me that if you were to take the amount of money that came from the students and the amount of money that came from the adults and add those two amounts together, you would get $687. Now, there's a trick to this question. It's not just 2x plus 9 plus x equals 687, because this is the number of children and the number of adults, and I need to know how much money they got from those children and adults. I guess I should have used C instead of S. Sorry about that. So I do want to come back up here, right? I knew I had 8 $10 bills and 5 $20 bills. I didn't just add 8 and 5 together to say that I have $13. What we had to do was take the number of bills that we had and multiply them by how much those bills were worth. I had to do 8 times $10 and 5 times $20. So when I'm setting up a word problem with money, I can't just do 2x plus 9 and then plus x. I have to take 2x plus 9, the number of children, and multiply it by how much it costs for a child, right? So it is $8 for children. So I have to do $8 times the number of children, which is 2x plus 9. So for the number of children here, we're going to do 8 times 2x plus 9. You'll notice I put a bracket around the whole 2x plus 9 to show that the whole thing is being multiplied by 8. Now adults, they cost $25. So I'm going to do $25 times the number of adults, which in our case is x. And then that equals $687. The trickiest step is getting this equation, right? So doing the let statement, you just use your comparison sentence. But here you have to remember that because we're talking about money, you have to take the number of people and multiply it by how much you're charging for those people. So once I have this equation, it has brackets. I don't really want to have brackets, so I'm going to multiply them out. So I'm going to take 8 and multiply 8 times 2x. 8 times 2 is 16x. And then 8 times 9 is 72. Then I'm going to do the same thing here. 25 times x is just 25x. And that equals 687. Now I do notice there are 2 terms with x's, so I can collect my like terms. 16 plus 25 gives me 41 x's plus 72 equals 687. Okay, so all I need to do now is solve. I'm going to subtract 72 from both sides. So 687 take away 72 gives me 615. And then 615 divided by 41 gives me 15. So we're going to divide by 41. And I get x equals 15. So when I get to this step, I often feel like I'm finished, but I am not done yet. We did our let statements, our equation, and we have solved, but we still have to go back and find our answers and then write a sentence. Now in this question, it only asked how many children were there, so I don't have to find the number of adults. I really just need to find the number of children. So I know that the number of children is 2x plus 9. So x we just solved is 15, so it's 2 times 15 plus 9. 2 times 15 is 30. 30 plus 9 is 39. So we don't have to calculate the number of adults, but the benefit of doing it would be that I could maybe check to see that they, work out to be the right number. I think I'm just going to trust our work and hope that we're right here, and say that there were 39 children. And that's how you do a money word problem.